It is the fourth model introduced in the 2025 Gear Fighter Dendoh collaboration with Metarops S, sporting the iconic Dendoh character with a different set of powerful weapons. This is GFD03 Neo UnicoDend, with a mostly new kit of All Guard, Hard Pile, Emit Blade, Biped Legs, and the leg ability of Solid, which is a brand new leg ability that applies an effect of Fight Guard Boost to self. When charging Metaforce, Fight Guard Boost, when applied, will boost resist by the resist stats of the legs by 120%. Now, Gear Fighter Dendoh has been fairly generous with what they've given us so far, between a lot of new skills and even a free welfare model of the iconic Dendoh himself with Gear Fighter Dendoh to start us off. But this version of him, with a lot of souped up power and a very cracked kit, makes it clear that he's definitely shedding a lot of armor and a lot of tools to make it clear that every hit he lands is going to be as excruciatingly painful as possible. All Guard on the head part is a defense skill that has a very unique damage reduction condition, much like most other basic guards. This one, however, will intercept and nullify any specifically attribute type of attacks. These include gunpowder, gravity, or even optic skills that are intercepted or nullified at 0 damage, period. So basically, this is the combined form of optic, gunpowder, and gravity guard all in one, at the cost of just a couple fewer charges than a standard guard. But with a base heating stat of 885, he can honestly fire this off and get himself to the front line fairly easily and quickly without anything getting in his way. The only real thing to pay attention here is the fact that he will basically intercept everything. It's just anything gravity, optic, or gunpowder attribute that gets nullified. And with it being a non-meta change type shield, it does mean anyone that is packing Destroy or anything of its particular family will be able to crunch Dendoh extremely easily before he has a chance to fight back. Hard Pile on the right arm is a brand new skill being introduced in the game in the same family as Hard Hammer that we've had for a pretty hot minute now with a couple of models. But to explain briefly, Hard Pile is a very powerful melee skill that ignores defense at base and packs piercing natively by itself, much like basic Pile does, obviously. However, Hard Pile also adds the sum of the user's combined melee and shooting resist to power when attacking. So this means that not only are you going to be ignoring enemies' damage reduction when attacking with this, and getting free piercing on top of that, but the tankier you are and the much easier it is for you to reduce damage, the more potent Hard Pile gets. And looking at the base resist he has at over 2k in one and over 1300 in another, that's going to be an extremely painful attack when he actually goes to use it. And with heating and cooling in the low 700s to roughly about mid 600s, he really shouldn't have too much of a problem using this either. Emit Blade on the left arm, and one of the only other skills that is not brand new to this particular model, is a standard conventional melee skill that's kind of in the same vein as Charge and even Hypercharge Blade. Upon using Emit Blade, it will consume 30 CG from the user's gauge upon attacking, but also double the user's power and give them piercing bonus on top of that. So this is an exceptionally powerful charge-reliant version of any standard sword that we've had currently in game, and we've seen a pretty hot minute for a pretty good number of times already with a lot of previous models. The only real drawback to Emit Blade is the fact that it is extremely expensive to use. Again, it costs 30 CG in your gauge to use, and if you don't have 30 CG in your gauge, well, guess what? You're not using Emit Blade, and you can't even select it as an option to use. But given that a lot of Neo UnicoDend's attack base power and overall DPS is going to be primarily with Hard Pile, this is going to be more of an added bonus more than an actual real detriment to him. Biped Legs means that this version of Dendoh will have very solid coverage on all terrains and pretty solid terrain compatibility across the board too. And his leg stats are looking absolutely monstrous in the damage reduction and the speed department on top of that. He's packing a base mobility of 872, so off to a very good start in that department. An evade of 1084 isn't too bad, as it means he can dodge or graze fairly easily and consistently, as long as he's not touched with any kind of no dodge penalty on cooldown. A melee resist of 2060 and a shoot resist of 1304 are very impressive though. So not only is this going to tie really nicely into Hardpile for overall synergy, but this also means that this version of Dendoh is remarkably solid at being able to keep his damage as low as possible and stay in the fight as long as he can. On the topic of damage reduction, however, his armor is just as stellar, with a head armor of almost 6600, arms just shy of 4800 apiece, and his legs at just shy of 5400. This version of Dendoh is definitely souped up from the freebie version that we got with this collaboration, so he's not only tanky in the HP department, but he's just as efficient in the damage reduction as well, meaning that this version of Dendoh can definitely put up a fight, and he can stick around as long as he's able to keep dishing out damage. All this being said though, as a pure set score, I very easily have to rate Neo UnicoDend an extremely synergetic and well-rounded 8.5 out of 10. It is an exceptionally strong, bulky, and very powerful model across the board that, weirdly enough, is not only extremely synergetic with itself, but also fairly user-friendly and beginner-friendly on top of that. Hardpile and the leg ability of Solid honestly synergize with each other like bread and butter, so I don't even have to explain why that's such a massively good combo by itself. But realistically, the best thing you'd be able to do is spend the first turn to charge Metaphor so that you have that fight guard boost applied. And then, as long as you have it applied, not only are you exceptionally tankier than you were before to keep your damage even lower, but you also have Hardpile that's going to be absolutely relishing in that boosted resistance to really dish out ignoring defense and high power combative attacks that are extremely powerful with piercing. Then on top of that, you can also pair it off with a Emit blade whenever you do have a charge and really take advantage of it. All guard is nice to have, but frankly, I don't see it seeing a lot of use in comparison to a lot of other big shields we have already, especially with a lot of meta change type ones. So it's more along the lines of, if you have it, it's great to have, but you probably won't be using it unless it's the last resort and both your arms are already broken first. As mixed parts, I very easily have to rate Neo UnicoDend an exceptional 9 out of 10 across the board. Not only, like I said, is it extremely synergetic, but it's basically an extremely user-friendly kit you can use basically anywhere. All guard probably may or may not see use, like I said, but pairing Hardpile with anything that has exceptionally bulky resist stats basically speaks for itself. Emit Blade can be used very well with anything that is charge reliant, such as auto charge or any full charge heads, and Solid basically you can use anywhere. You can pair it off with Hard Hammer, with Hardpile, or if you really just want it for the sheer bulk, you can go that direction too, because the bulkier you are, the lower the final damage ends up getting to you unless they're ignoring defense.